Blue hydrogen. What is it and should it replace natural gas? This is by Tom Baxter, Honorary Senior Lecturer, Chemical Engineering, University of Aberdeen, Scotland, on the conversation. Blue hydrogen, I've never even heard of that. It's often touted as a low carbon fuel for generating electricity and storing energy, powering cars, trucks, and trains, and heating buildings. But according to a new report by Cornell and Stanford University researchers in the US, it may be no better for the climate and potentially a fair bit worse than continuing to use fossil natural gas, which currently keeps 85% of UK homes warm. In the US, about half of all homes use natural gas for space and water heating. So, what is hydrogen fuel and what makes it blue? According to the International Energy Agency, 96% of hydrogen produced worldwide is made using fossil fuel, coal, oil, and natural gas, in a process known as reforming. This involves combining fossil fuels with steam and heating them to around 800 degrees Celsius. Eventually, you get carbon dioxide, CO2, and hydrogen. These two gases are then separated. The CO2 is often emitted to the atmosphere where it contributes to global heating, and the hydrogen is extracted and used in everything from car engines to boilers, releasing water vapor. The hydrogen rainbow. Gray hydrogen is the most common form. The color simply denotes how it's made, and this kind is generated from natural gas, which mostly consists of methane and ethane, the fossil fuel which powers most gas boilers and stoves, and which scientists have identified as an important source of carbon emissions that governments need to eliminate. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. Brown hydrogen uses lignite coal, also known as brown coal, generated over millions of years by compressed peat deposits or oil, and black hydrogen is produced using bituminous coal, a tar-like substance. The process of extracting hydrogen from all of these options emits CO2 to differing degrees, so they are not a suitable pathway for reaching net zero emissions with hydrogen. Green hydrogen, meanwhile, is produced by using zero carbon electricity, such as that generated by wind turbines or solar panels, to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. The process is carbon neutral, but green hydrogen is very expensive and is expected to remain so until at least 2030. But blue hydrogen, it's hoped, particularly in the US and UK governments, is different. Blue hydrogen is produced using the same reforming process that's used to create gray, brown, and black hydrogen, but the CO2 that would ordinarily be released is captured and stored underground. Carbon capture and storage equipment is expensive, raising the price of the fuel, but it at least provides for lower carbon fuel production at a lower cost than green hydrogen. Or does it? Out of the blue, the process of making blue hydrogen is also requires a lot of energy. For every unit of heat in the natural gas at the start of the process, only 70 to 75% of that potential heat remains in the hydrogen production. In other words, if the hydrogen is used to heat a building, you would need to use 25% more natural gas to make blue hydrogen than if it was used directly for the heat. And as reported by US Environmental Protection Agency, methane, the primary component of natural gas and a byproduct of using it to produce blue hydrogen, is a much more potent global warming gas than CO2 over shorter timescales. And on a 100-year basis, methane has a global warming potential 28 to 36 times greater than CO2. So one molecule of methane in the atmosphere has the same effect as around 30 molecules of CO2. In the first study of its kind to consider blue hydrogen's environmental impact over its entire life cycle, The US researchers found that methane emissions released when the fossil natural gas is extracted and burned are much less than blue hydrogen. More methane needs to be extracted to make blue hydrogen, and it must pass through reformers, pipelines, and ships, providing more opportunities for leaks, enough to the research indicates to make blue hydrogen 20% worse for the climate than just using fossil gas. The new study casts doubt on the role that blue hydrogen might play in cutting greenhouse gas emissions from sectors like heating and heavy industry. As these new findings are picked over by the energy community, it's worth wondering how the news will be received in Westminster and Washington. The UK government is due to publish their delayed hydrogen strategy, which should set out where hydrogen will feature in the country's decarbonisation strategy. What's certain is that blue hydrogen may not be as green as it once appeared. So that's out of the question. It's worse than natural gas, than just normal natural gas. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. This is On the Conversation.